Okay, Tammy, it's Friday. It is not customer service week anymore, even though everybody thinks that that's all we talk about. But
Right.
we have some really awesome guests on today, and we have something really, really awesome and important to talk about. So I am going to kind of
Yes,
just give this to you and Shannon,
absolutely.
and I'm going to be in the background. So happy
Well,
Friday, everybody.
happy
Happy Friday.
Friday. This month is Diversity Awareness Month, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Awareness Month. And so we are going to take some time this month and talk about some awareness issues, like what things we might not know that we don't know. We might throw some content in about how people utilize or how people work with and through diversity, equity, and inclusion and how it affects them. We just want to bring more awareness to what's going on in Percepta. And to do that, we have asked a couple of our most adaptable leaders to join us this early in the morning. I'm also joined with Shannon Gerby, and together we are working towards implementing many of the diversity, equity, and inclusion elements within Percepta. And maybe Shannon, you want to start with what we've been doing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're really excited. We got the results back from our first ever We Belong Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion survey in August. We are processing that. We're continuing with the leadership training and workshops around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm super excited to have this platform to bring more of that to light. And we're kind of talking about certain elements that's included in the leadership training, but that we really want to personalize with some stories and some experiences and insights from folks at our different sites. So we're talking this week about inclusive language. You'd notice Kellen's social post with just some kind of tips and tricks to make your language more inclusive. That's kind of the theme today.
Agree. Let's go ahead and introduce our guests, and then we just have one question we want to pose to you guys. Diana, do you mind, for those who might not know you yet, just a little bit about you?
I'm Diana. I'm the Senior Manager Human Resources. I'm based in the UK. I look after EMEA and APAC regions. So diversity, inclusive language is very, very important when it comes to speaking to my team and also interacting with the different countries.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. James is one of our newest leaders to Percepta. So James, for those who don't know you yet, let's hear a little bit about you.
Thank you for having me this morning. I'm James Nelson. I'm the new site director for our Houston location. And I'm just excited to be here to be part of this conversation. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is absolutely critical to the success of any organization. And just the topic of language and how we speak to each other and at each other, I think it's just absolutely critical to building really collaborative, strong teams.
Absolutely. Shannon and I have an exercise that we do in one of our workshops, that words matter. And what that includes is sometimes the words that we think are okay can be either taken incorrectly or differently, or they have a different meaning to other people. Right. So we try and bring an awareness to not a right or a wrong, but just to be aware that others might not be hearing what we think we're saying. So when we talk about that, how does language and the use of words and the tone, that kind of thing, how does it influence like inclusion within your team? Do you have experience in or stories that you want to share with how something like just words or tone have influenced teamwork and within your area? Diana, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think language is very important. And like I said, I look after EMEA and APAC regions. So my English and what I'm saying doesn't necessarily sometimes translate well. So it's really important that when I'm talking to anybody, I use factual information. I don't use things such as it's raining cats and dogs, because to most people that makes no sense at all. But if I'm speaking to someone in the UK, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it's really important that I also don't make assumptions, right? I think that's a huge thing that a lot of the time we'll make an assumption that somebody might be comfortable with you approaching them and saying something. It's good to ask and just check, but be mindful that, you know, you don't want to offend anybody.
Love the choice of words when you said don't make assumptions, because I think that's one of our, just as humans, just as human people, our blind spots can sometimes create those language barriers that we just don't realize are there, right? So that's, I love that word choice.
Right.
James, same question to you.
Yeah, so we work in an environment where we are interfacing and communicating with clients all the time, right? And customers of our clients. And so and we do quite a bit of coaching in our environment. So as you're having conversations with your employees and you're coaching them, you want to be very mindful of really the words that you use, because coaching is built to really build up, to edify, to help improve a performance, not to tear down, not to demean, not to speak in derogatory terms. Because you got to keep in mind, when you're having those conversations internally, sometimes that translates to how our employees talk to customers, right? And so you want to be very mindful that everything that we're saying, it's about how do you build someone up? How do you create an environment where everyone feels a part? Um, we make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. And then how do you coach people up, right? And not down. And so I think the words you use and um, the tone that you use with people can be very demotivating if used improperly. And so my big thing is be kind, be professional, be sensitive, um, be aware, right, that people have different experiences and different backgrounds and perhaps different challenges. And so you can't just have one approach to communicating with people, right? You have to really encompass all of that.
Absolutely. I love those words. When you said that to include people, like use the right words that actually include people. So it's what matters to them. Like, so
Right.
that's what we're looking for. And I love that perfect language. Shannon, what are maybe some ideas for inclusive language or perspective that we can think about for being more inclusive?
Well, I just want to applaud the guests that we have today, because that is exactly the recommendation I would make, is that our leaders are the examples, and we're modeling when we coach, when we interact with clients and customers, but particularly our employees. And they are going to mirror the tone, the language that we are modeling for them. So I would say do exactly what you're doing. You know, it's our responsibility as leaders to examine our language, to know the roots, the origins of, especially in the U.S., of many of our words and phrases. They are steeped in a racist history, and we don't even realize it because we use them over and over. So it's real important that I would say, study our words, ensure that the tone that we're using is appropriate, and just keep doing what you're doing. Model, do your research, look into people first language, all of those components. Those are part of our jobs as leaders. So keep doing what we're doing, because that's what builds the culture of inclusion in an organization.
That's
Right.
awesome. My suggestion, tip, thought for the day is to practice empathy. And to listen empathetically and to respond empathetically. And I think that helps put our words in the right mindset for the right kind of receiving of those words. Any other comments that you guys want to share? Anything that you want to mention before we close for our Friday session?
Yeah, I was just thinking as Shannon was talking. I mean, just something as simple as using we versus you, right?
Mhm.
And when you're coaching an agent as a leader, it's not, well, here's what you need to do, right? It's like, here's what we're going to do, right? Here's your part, here's my part, here's our plan, right, of action on
Exactly.
how we're going to improve. So I think when you use we and our versus you, I think it just changes the whole dynamic of inclusion. It's like we are part of the solution together.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Good words.
Absolutely.
Good words. Thanks so much, James. Well, I want to thank you guys so much again for hopping on with us today. We do appreciate your time. We appreciate your leadership. And we look forward to the rest of the month where we can hopefully give some tips and some ideas and further the awareness of not just what diversity, equity, and inclusion is, but why it's important and why Percepta is also championing these efforts to help us all become more inclusive leaders.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts?
Just so you guys know, Tiffany Reyna gave some love to James and said, "Welcome to Houston" on our feed. So that's
Oh.
Okay.
awesome.
All right.
And then
Tiffany.
Aaron Simmons said inclusion and with a happy face. So very excited. And we have a handful of people watching. So really
Okay.
good stuff,
Awesome.
guys.
Good
Oh,
deal.
thanks. Everybody have a terrific weekend and a safe weekend. And we will see you all back here next time.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
Friday.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.